So just sending a quick little weekly video. She's doing really good. I see you guys most afternoons. The biggest thing that I would like to see maybe integrated at home is really building up her engagement. I know that she likes you guys, obviously. She's obsessed with you. But I want to kind of branch that into a more productive outlet to where it's constructive and it's like a, I don't know the word I want to use, like a harmonious relationship where instead of her just kind of like being infatuated with you and like pestering you, it's more of like you guys are working together and she's getting something out of it and you're down the line going to get something out of it too. So the biggest thing that I've been working on with her, which I think is more important right now than actual obedience, is that engagement. So as she moves around, every time she checks in with me, I pay her. So I'm using the word yes or yep. I kind of do it with her just because it's kind of sharpened. She hears it a little bit easier. Yes. That is going to be the main marker that I'm using right now. So a marker is just a cue or a sound that announces the arrival of some type of reward for her. So right now it's food. I'm just using hot dog treats. Sometimes I use her lunch. It just depends on the day. In the beginning, I was just using hot dogs because she wasn't. I just wanted to create a relationship before I relied on food, her necessary meals, I should say. So right now, I'm conditioning that response. So every time I say that word, that marker, I'm delivering food. I'm presenting the food for her. So over time, that conditioned response is going to happen, and she's going to associate the two together, and she will know that that cue, that marker, announces food for her. So it's something that I'm going to use gradually in new environments instead of going out and asking for obedience, which she's so easily shuts down. Like she's so invested in her environment because she's a little bit of a timid dog. She's very like typical GSD. She's just kind of nervous. Instead of letting her manifest feelings about things happening around her, I'm immediately going to jump into, hey, let's do some engagement games. So that switches the value from everything around her back onto me. And then once she warms up and she's like, oh, everything's great, I'm engaged with my handler, we're doing all of this stuff, she kind of eases up and doesn't worry about the things happening around her. So every time she notices something, like this, the very moment that she sees it, I'm going to mark and pay her because I want to switch the value from those things back onto me. So those things then become a neutral stimulus. They exist, but they're not good, they're not bad, they just are there, and all of the good stuff happens for me. So every time I go somewhere new, any type of new environment, when I see her kind of get a little pacey and check out for me, I start doing the marker and paying her. Yep, okay, girl. So a recommendation for you guys is to use her meals. So instead of just here's your food bowl or even making her sit or whatever for her food, take her, you can start it in the house at first. Like walk around with her meals in like a pouch or in your pocket, and then feed you it. As she starts looking up at you and checking in with you, looking in your eyes, into your soul, say that yes, and then pay her. And it can be a varying amount. Like sometimes it can be like a kibble, sometimes it can be a handful, sometimes a couple of kibbles. If you're in a time crunch, it could be do yes once with the kibble, and then the second time give almost her entire food bowl. Those things, those variations of the food are going to be very important because she's not able to predict what she's getting. So it's going to build a little bit of dopamine in the possibility of what she can get. In order for the possibility, the hope for that jackpot of a reward to exist, it has to have happened. So that's kind of my caveat, because I know sometimes it is frustrating or it's kind of stressful to have to allow the time to do all of that. So if you're every once in a while you need to just do a quick training session, just give the full bowl, but do it in the same context of you looked at me, here's your food bowl. I've had plenty of days with mine, my little puppy over there, the Malinois. She only eats through training, and there's plenty of days when I'm like, I don't have time to like do a lot of training, so she does one really good thing, here's your entire meal. But yeah, nope, don't eat my leash. So we start out in very low distraction settings, so it could be in your house. living room, kitchen, whatever. Just move around, and every time she comes and she looks up at you, you're gonna pay her. You're gonna mark that moment. And then you can start out in the yard, and then on the street, and then you go to somewhere and do that. And that's the only criteria that you're using the food for, is just her looking up at you and her paying more attention to you than things happening around her. Because again, she's so invested in everything happening around her, and she checks out so easily, and then she gets really reactive and all the barky stuff happens because she's a defensive dog. Naturally, German Shepherds are kind of just a defensive breed, and they like their space. So I don't want her worrying about that stuff so much. I want her more worried about what you have to offer. And then later, once she's once we're advancing with things, we can actually work on obedience, and we can go over stuff with that. But right now, I think such a huge part of her training is going to be getting that engagement, because that is very, very low on her skill level right now. And I know, like, if you're thinking, well, she's obsessed with me because I've seen her in life, like she's very attached to you guys. That's not engagement, that's just more of like an obsession. And I think I'd rather it be more constructive so that you can harness that and use it in other aspects and get her through these situations where she's a little bit stressed. So I want to kind of branch over to exactly what I'm looking for as far as when we're in situations when you get to a little bit more distraction. So like other dogs, other people, nature, I don't know. I want it to be, we're rewarding the exact moment that she notices something. So, okay, let me back up. So we're rewarding eye contact, but at some point, we're gonna get into a situation where it's like this, yes, where things happen, and we lose her attention. And instead of forcing her to look back at us, we're going to make her think that it's her idea. So we're taking something, like my dogs are over here in their kennels, we're taking something that is a higher motivator than myself, and we are switching the value from that to me. So instead of saying, hey, let's go investigate this, let's let other dogs run up to you, let's go say hi to other dogs so you're not scared of them, whatever, we're gonna make that not a thing, and we're going to steal the value. So when she looks over at them, I'm going to say yes to mark that I like that she's seeing them, and I'm saying that's a good thing, I want you to continue to do that, but the reinforcement comes from me instead of them. And in order for that to work, that has to not be a reinforcement. So proper socialization has nothing to, it's not always, oh, I want to let my dog meet every dog that it sees, because then that puts a value on those things. So I want it to be, yes, we see another dog, that's great, they exist, and there's nothing wrong with them. I want her to see those things and all the things, but I want the value to then come from me when she sees them. Girl. And she knows mine already, so she just wants to go play. So you see, I don't really have to do anything when I mark. She already knows what this means. She knows what that sound means. So she has a pretty good conditioned response to the marker. And then using her meals is going to double that value, because she depends on you guys for food. So if you're using something that she needs for survival, then that's gonna just put so much more value on your offerings. Good girl. And then we're doing a lot of other stuff other than this. Like I'm doing a lot of luring and putting her into positions and all of that stuff. I'm not gonna share that just yet because it's not there yet. I'm spending way more time on the engagement and getting her around situations that are triggers to her and neutralizing them essentially, because as we've all seen, she's very, very vocal when she sees something that she's not 100% sure of. So, all right, hey, don't need my leash. Good girl. I will continue to send updates. Feel free to ask any questions that you need to. I tend to ramble in my videos. I have thoughts when I start doing these, and then they kind of all over because I'm scatterbrained. So again, send me an email if you have any questions. All right.